it. Oh, I keep on forgetting to tell you that. Sorry, Jess. This is just a vote on the prior minutes. Does anybody have any questions with the prior minutes? If you do, just let me know.
I move to approve the minutes from the November.
Thank you, because I don't know the words. I'm too tired. Thank you. I knew you two knew the rules. All right, cool. Thank you very much. I introduced myself. I'm Kelly Convery. I'm the co-chair.
Wait, Cal, you're supposed to then ask if everybody, if there's any approve and disapprove.
I should get fired from this. I don't know it.
I think you should get fired as well.
Thanks, Avi. Oh, I missed you.
I second the motion.
All right, so thank you, Avi. So are we good with prior minutes now? Yes, I think we're good. Good evening, everyone. This is Kelly Convery. I'm the co-chair, and I'll turn it over to Michelle.
Hello, I'm Michelle Slavin. I'm the other co-chair. Am I supposed to say my kids?
I don't know.
Okay, Clark's in 4th grade and Marie's in 2nd.
Okay, and then we'll have Mike, then Julie.
Hi, I'm Mike Stefanski. Ivy is in 1st grade and Hank is in 3rd grade. And Julie, pass to you.
Hi, Julie Abrams. I'm the other vice co-chair. I have Nicholas, who is in 4th grade with Mrs. Wagner, and Olivia, who's in 2nd grade with Mrs. Pandoff, and Josie, who has yet to make her debut at NPE. She's alive, but she's not at NPE yet. Jess.
Hi, I'm Jess Stillman Lloyd. I have a 2nd grader in Miss Rudy's class, a 4th grader in Mrs. Foreman's class, and a 7th grader NPE alum. I did it.
I'm Stephanie Schramm. I am a dispersing treasurer. I have Serafina, who is in 2nd grade, Mrs. Pandoff's room, and I have Elliot, who will be starting at NPE in kindergarten next year.
Oh, wait, that leaves me, right? I'm Sarah Hall. I am receiving treasurer this year. I have a sophomore, and then Emily and Kelsey are in 1st grade at NPE.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Heinley for the principal report.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to see everyone. I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving and your families over the break. It was nice to step away for a couple of days. I regrettably missed the turkey trot. First, I just want to thank Mrs. Convery, Mrs. Schramm, the whole executive board, the whole NPE community. It was such a wonderful event. And regrettably, unfortunately, my son was playing in the marching band down in the Philadelphia Thanksgiving parade, so I was unable to attend. But I'm just so proud of the community and so thankful to have such a supportive, invested community. And we were just saying earlier, it's just grown. It's grown, the event, and it was just a great day. So many thanks to the countless hours that people put in to make it a wonderful event. And I do plan on running next year. I'm marking my calendar now to be there and running in it. I will say, I will share a personal highlight, an NPE related highlight. On Saturday, I was watching the Swedesboro, New Jersey parade, where the marching band was playing there as well. And I see a string band coming down the street in the middle of Swedesboro. And in the front is former NPE student Jake Kudrick leading the, I believe, Duffy string band, the Mummers. So yeah, I think he was just as shocked to see me, and we got a picture and a big hug, and it was great to see him. He's already taller than me, which isn't that difficult these days, but it was a great break. So I hope everyone had a great time as well over the Thanksgiving holiday. As always, just to start with a few dates. Coming right from the e-blast, this upcoming Friday is Picture Retake Day. Barksdale will be coming out for picture retakes for any interested families. Really, the next disruption to a normal schedule will be December 23rd, the last day before break, which is a 12:30 p.m. dismissal, usual modified kindergarten schedule as well. And then students return to school on Monday, January 3rd. As I mentioned last month, kindergarten registration is open. So if you know anyone that has a little one, tell them to register as soon as possible so we can get our planning in the right place for next year. You probably have seen the e-blast or on the website, the vaccination clinics that the district is partnering with Springfield Pharmacy. That information will also be out in this Friday's e-blast. I believe the first date was Monday, the 29th, with 2 dates remaining. The Wallingford Swarthmore School District, the Parent Night Series, the Office of Student Services once a month offers, it's called the Botvin Parent Training Series. And basically it's different skills, different conversations for parents. And I believe the last couple times it's been for an audience of grades 3 to 5. The next upcoming one is December 9th, Tuesday, December 9th. I believe it was in the last e-blast. It will also be in the next one. That begins at 6 p.m. and it's a virtual event. So that is something that I'd like to encourage people to take a look at and potentially participate in. I have received a few questions recently about the lunch. We are getting to the colder months. So the elementary principals got together, all principals got together with the administration, talked about the winter months. And we looked at, I guess I should say the district looked at some studies about exposure for students in the elements. And there was a study, I guess, commissioned by, I believe, the American Pediatric Association. We were discussing how we were going to approach outdoor lunches. And from the beginning, it's always been 3 feet or to the greatest extent possible. So we were fortunate to get the tents. The current plan, which I'll also have out in the e-blast with details, the current plan right now is if the temperature is 45 degrees or higher, real feel, I got to point that out, students will be eating outside. We are going to continue to do that unless sometimes the wind may be a little bit higher, the wind speed, at which point I always check the tents just for safety. I believe they are fine, but sometimes I don't want to take a chance. The wind whips around there. So depending on the wind speed, it's 45 degrees or higher, students are outside. If the temperature is 44 degrees or lower, we will be doing the all inside lunch, which for most lunches is about 3.5 foot spacing. Having said that, the students are spaced out in the lobby, the cafeteria, and also on the stage. There is a large space or a large area in the cafeteria, so that there's really only one student, really, maybe 2, that are within a 6-foot radius in the cafeteria. And I can take a picture, potentially be sending that out like I did last year. I am still looking at additional alternative spaces. Unfortunately, space is limited at NPE, but I'm still looking at that. And I know there will be many questions about it. I've received questions and concerns on both sides of the spectrum, as you can imagine. So with that directive, I'll be doing my best to work with families. And as people have concerns, as always, I say, please reach out to me. Let's talk about what they are and see what we can do. But as far as bringing the kids in, it will be 44 degrees or 44 and below. Students will be coming in. So the last couple of days, it's been right kind of on the number. I've kind of gone out there. So it may have been 45. They may have been inside. I went out there myself. And again, because it's shaded, it sometimes feels cooler. And one of the determining factors, because I know my friends at secondary, our high school students will grab their lunch and go outside in shorts, whether or not it's 20 degrees. So they may not enact the exact same guidelines. Their lunch looks a little bit different than ours. At the elementary level, our students have 45 minutes total. So it's not just the 25 minutes for lunch, it's the 20 for recess. And recess is different. It's a lower temperature threshold because students are active, they're at play. Also, students eating lunch with jackets and gloves, and that's already caused, unfortunately, some difficulty, some challenges, especially for our young friends, first grade, second grade even. So this was, we knew this was going to come, the colder months were going to get here. So I just welcome everyone to kind of reach out, with individual cases. I can certainly take questions now, but, more individual questions I can take, either email me or call me. But that is basically my report. Oh, I did forget one thing, and I'll come right back to the lunches. You probably did see my e-blast. I forgot to mention that Mrs. Hendershot, student teacher, has an exhibit down at the Tyler School of Art. I believe running through the weekend. There's a reception. I believe it's on the 5th. I think I put out there. It's on the flyer. I do apologize for not having the date in front of me. But a lot of our third grade work is really prominently displayed. And also other families in other grades, I believe they've reached out to the students to say, hey, you also have some work in the exhibit. So please definitely take a look at that. That will also be in the Friday e-blast. So thank you, and I'll certainly open up to any questions if you have any. Okay. Well, as I said,
hang on a second, not so quickly. This is a bit of a premature question, but I was just wondering, is there anything new you've heard, or when you'll get guidance on the new variant and all that? I know it's all too soon, but I just wanted to know if there's anything heads up we should be waiting for, anything like that.
Not at my level. The short answer is no. I don't. I know right now, and I'm actually looking right here, my paperwork here that I have from the pandemic team. We're kind of where we were last month with watching separate from the variant, but the masking. Where are we going to be with the state, the ruling? I believe the stay is through December 4th, I believe is the date. My understanding is, just in terms of the masking, that is going to go back to local control, or at least that's the belief. If it is upheld, I believe, and it would go back to the school board. But as far as anything with the variant and its impact, yeah, it's very likely that I would probably be hearing some of the same messages at the school board meeting alongside everyone else, because I think that will be are they going to bring in CHOP, the policy line? I don't know. So short answer is I haven't heard anything just yet.
Okay, great. That's what I thought. I just want to check. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. No problem.
Mr. Heinley, we received some communication about providing vaccination status to the school if we elected to get our child vaccinated, but I don't recall if it outlined whether we should wait until they receive the second dose of the vaccine or if we should notify after the first.
I don't know that exact answer. I can get you that information.
Okay.
And then, I can potentially put that in Friday's e-blast. So I just wrote a note to myself. I'll find that out. I believe, but I don't want to give you the wrong answer on the spot. I believe it would be after the second, but I'll get that answer. I'll get that answer for you. I'll email you specifically tomorrow, but I believe it's after the second.
That's fine. Thank you.
Not a problem.
At the high school level, they had us upload the vaccination cards onto the portal. So I don't know if that will happen at the elementary school level also or not. And what we did was you just scan it and upload it into your child's, because I have multiple children in the district right now, upload them into it's like in the forms section or something like that. And that,
Yes.
from what I understand, goes directly to the nurse.
Yes, and I'm actually, I don't want to overpromise here, but I'm optimistic, or I'm hoping that the information that you just referred to, we're going to have like easy step-by-step for parents. And that will also, if I have it, will be in Friday's e-blast, like a how-to. How do I upload, or how do I do that? It'll be like, that's not I'm not the best with creating those directions. So I need some help from my colleagues, but I'm hoping to have like directions on how to upload for elementary parents.
I just added to the chat, but it says actually, I just did it today. woohoo,
Oh, there you go.
for Tyler. So it says in the form, it says after your child has received the second dose.
Awesome.
And
Thank
only
you.
because I was in the form today.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Stephanie.
So, yeah, in the forms, and then it specifically says after the second dose, you enter the 2 dates that they got the vaccines, which obviously is Pfizer, and then you take a picture of it and upload it. So.
Great, thank you. All right, I'd just like to take a quick moment and introduce, on very short notice, I might add, Ms. Goldman, less than about 24 hours notice. I didn't have one lined up for today, so I want to introduce Ms. Goldman, our school librarian and media specialist, and she, as I've introduced some of the staff the last couple months, I just want to say a couple words about Ms. Goldman. Ms. Goldman, since coming to us 3 or 4 years ago, she has developed such a positive relationship with students. She's brought a lot of STEM activities, did an online or virtual STEM club for our students. She has, one of the biggest hearts on our staff, a very caring individual, and has a passion for literacy, but also STEM, and also some of the diversity work that we're doing at the building level. And I hope to have a very specific update about that next month, about some work that the equity team at NPE is doing for MLK Day and beyond. But wanted to acknowledge her and what she's brought to our students. Again, that love of STEM, tying in literacy, and she's taken a few moments to join us tonight to talk a little bit about the library. So I want to welcome Ms. Goldman. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you, and thank you all for having me. I was just, Carrie, could you all hear me? Okay, great. I was just looking at all the names, and I had probably 8/10 of your kids today, including all the Converys and Slavens and Stefan. I saw Ivy today. I saw pretty much everybody. So it's funny to see connect the names with the kids with the parents. So it's always fun for me because I don't do conferences generally, so I never get to see any parents. So it's nice to see everybody. And hopefully I will see a lot of you when the book fairs return and in everyday life, because we need some help in the library, some parent volunteers. I am, as the kids say, Ms. Goldman, why do you have so many books? Yep, we got a lot of books put away. So just in general, the library schedule is one of our specials at NPE. We run on a 12-day schedule. So every 4 days, your children have library, and every third rotation they have guidance with Mrs. Schwam, and she does. I mean, I'll let her, Mr. Heinley, if you have any questions about guidance, talk about that. But there's a 45-minute special. Kindergarten is 30 minutes. And during library, we do everything. My title is media specialist. And that really is very inclusive of pretty much everything I do. We do digital, we talk about a variety of topics like digital citizenship. We do research processes, interacting with text, book appreciation, using books for pleasure reading and not just for decoding and all the stuff that the general education teachers do, which it's a great privilege to have to give the students something where they enjoy, as opposed to, okay, let's analyze this text. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, believe me. I was a classroom teacher for 17 years, but just to have the kids have the kids appreciate books and materials and everything like that, it's a privilege. We also, as Mr. Heinley said, and we do I am very heavily involved in STEM education. I have an instructional technology, and I run last year I ran a virtual STEM club for second through fifth grade, and hopefully we'll do it again this spring in person because STEM on the computer is a little difficult. I have a very background in STEM, including working for the Franklin Institute Science Museum. And so about half an hour is lessons, and 10 to 15 minutes is students are self-selecting reading materials. We do have, the students aren't, I'm not telling a student, you can't have this book unless there is a topic in the book or it is, inappropriate for their grade level. But we have lots of different books on a variety of topics in every different section, nonfiction books that are good for K to 2, 3 to 5. And one of the things I'm proud of is increasing the our graphic novel collection. And it seems like graphic novels are a great way that I have found to encourage the most reluctant readers to get into books. And excuse me, a lot of people say, okay, well, they're just comic books. And, we discussed I discussed with the kids about how, this is a comic book, this is a graphic novel. Let's talk about the differences, the quality. So that's one of the things that I've increased a lot, and they're very popular. If you've been an NPE, you probably have a child who's read Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but I want to let the kids know that there's more out there than just those books. This year, I'm aiming to increase the diversity of our collection, particularly in regards to getting books on people with differencing abilities. I don't like to say disabilities, and students that are of Asian and East Asian descent, which is I have found in my collection to be an underrepresented. We're underrepresented in books and materials for those students, and we have a number of students of of Indian descent and of Asian descent. I've started a book in simplified Chinese. So, the looks on the kids' faces when they see Diary of a Wimpy Kid, for example, in simplified Chinese is amazing. They're just so happy. One of the things that I'm doing this year, every year I do a special project. This year is a little difficult, but last year, I'm sure your children had talked about the Who Kidnapped Mr. Heinley project. That was super popular. It's like a giant game of Clue, and everybody was sus in the whole building. Thank you, Minecraft, or whatever that game is. Whatever the game is, the Among Us. And so this year, I noticed that with the kids coming back, and they are a lot of the K-2 students have iPads. And when they get to third grade, they get Chromebooks. And a lot of the kids are having some issues with not using touch screens. Transitioning from a touch screen to a QWERTY keyboard is really hard. If you've seen students with the Chromebooks, sometimes they'll try to touch them and nothing happens and they get confused. So I'm working with the instructional technology department and to create a kind of a keyboarding program. I'm a child of the 80s, and I learned to type on a manual giant typewriter that weighed 100 pounds. But I wanted to use typing.com, which is very widely held as one of the best online programs. So I've talked to Mr. Stefanski, and that one of the things that I would like to do this year, and I know you have a you have a budget that you may be willing to work with the library, getting books and materials, which is great, and I appreciate that, is getting a license for that product so we can move on with that project. And if there are any questions, please feel free to email me. I am not a phone person, but so if you have any questions, you have you have questions about what your students are reading, please let me know. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer now. And I can't see everybody, so if you just hit the raise hand, that would be awesome. Or anybody would, let's see. Okay. So
Mrs. Goldman, this is Kelly. I was wondering, so is the spring book fair going to happen?
yes.
Awesome.
Yep. And I had both your girls today. They're chatty girls. They're
Yeah.
very nice girls.
So with that, would you need volunteers for that, or are they not going to let people in?
It is, I mean, I'm going to kind of toss that to Mr. Heinley, but I'm not privy to that as of yet, but I'm hoping that the winds will change and we could have in-person volunteers, because we didn't have one. We were scheduled to have one this week, our winter book fair, but they are but we couldn't have parent volunteers, and there's no way I could run it by myself.
No, that's too much work.
Yes.
The short answer is I'm sure we'll be answering the questions for the pandemic team and pushing it forward. I think and I'm optimistic.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so it's something I really enjoy doing, but it is like running a Barnes and Noble while teaching classes at the same time, and it's and night events. So I mean, the kids ask me every day, when's the book fair? When's the book fair?
Yeah, it's a
gonna
big highlight.
Yes, it's going to be in April.
Okay.
Kind of smushed between like the PSSAs or the state testing. I'm not sure which one it is, and spring break. So it's kind of mixed in there.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And
Kelly,
Ms. Goldman and I oh, sorry, Stephanie, go ahead.
I was just going to ask too, do you have, Mrs. Goldman, a wish list for the library? I mean, some of us are kind of like our children, we're like at the bottom of our children, and we're not going to be an NPE anymore, and have kind of libraries of our own that have built up over many years. Mm-hmm. Is there a wish list maybe that you could post on the NPE website that if we have those books in good condition, we could donate?
That's an excellent idea. Who do you belong to? This is
I belong to Tyler Sullivan. Yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah. Love Tyler. He's awesome. Awesome kid. Yes, I can see about posting that to the, I'll send it to one of the PTO representatives.
Right.
And I could see about maybe I'm putting it on the NPE library website for easy reference.
That's a really good idea, and I'm really excited. I have so many books.
When it's ready to go, I can just take the link and put it in the e-blast as well and say, hey, here it is, parents, check it out. So just let me know, and we'll talk.
Yeah, I am really without the book fairs and we need new books. We need new books coming in constantly, and I'm a big proponent of buying secondhand. Most of the STEM materials I buy is secondhand, and so any used books I'm very, very happy to accept, and other materials as well that could help our students with with any kind of activity.
Yeah, and Ms. Goldman, I had a chance to exchange some emails too, and because of now it's 3 book fairs that have been canceled, and maybe even 4, because of we get credits with Scholastic and running that, and that helps bring in new materials. So we do have a lack of new materials that are coming in due to those book fairs. So it's great to hear that that's there. But later in the meeting, do you want to kind of introduce an idea of PTO kind of helping supplement to get some of that new in there? And Stephanie, I think this is a great idea to kind of reuse as much as we can too, so that we're not increasing our carbon footprint, which is what I'm concerned about a lot sometimes, but I think also for what we can do to just make sure that we're getting new materials in as well. So we'll speak to that a little bit later, but just want to just highlight that the lack of those book fairs is what's contributing to this.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you. And I appreciate any effort the PTO can, can give me in increasing, the books and materials in the library. Because the kids get so excited. I get excited. It is a lot of work. So thank you for your consideration. And if there's any
Can
other
I-
questions, please let me
Yeah,
know.
I just wanted to ask a little bit more about the typing. That's, very important to me with with children that I have who have terrible handwriting. And I feel as though I'm learning typing for me, and I think we had middle school electives for it, has been probably a huge, like one of the biggest boons to my career that I could imagine. But so I'm just wondering if the typing.com is, traditional keyboarding skills, or is it just, what is it like?
Well, it's not gaming, but I am very much into the gamification of education. But there is a scope and sequence. You are welcome to go onto the website. It's typing.com, which is super easy to remember. Each student can work at their own pace. I'm sure a lot of us remember the I think it's like Mrs. Jarvis's typing program on CD-ROM. But it's so basically it's I contacted one of the preeminent librarian instructional technologists in the country. Her name is Shannon McClintock Miller, and this is what she recommended. She's I actually wrote her a fan letter, but she was, because anyone who would know it would be her. So she recommended this, and also the instructional technology team and the school district also recommended this website. So I have to explore it more because COVID, it's been lots to do. So you're welcome to look through it and explore it on your own. And if you have any specific questions, you're welcome to just send me an email or contact me. Now, I guess it was okay. So thank you for having me again. And I'm going to be enjoying my dinner. And
Thank you so much for calling in. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Goldman.
Okay.
Thanks, Ms. Goldman.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We're going to turn it over to the committee reports, and I'll turn it over to Steph for the turkey trot.
So if you haven't heard, our turkey trot was a really great success. We had some really great committee members who took on amazing roles to really support Kelly and I through the day. I see a couple of you guys on here right now, Leah, Nancy, Michelle as the turkey herself, and Avi with social media. Just we could not have done it without you guys, and many others too. So at the end of the day, we had 867 total signups for our turkey trot. According to our chip system, we had over 555K finishers that day. And that is not including the kids run, which is estimated to be about 120 kids that participated in that event. As of today, if you were to go onto our NPE PTO website, I update a live budget every day. And right now the turkey trot is netting $21,000 for that event. We're still waiting for our final payment for the week before the race, as well as from registrants, as well as we do have several payments that we need to still make, including to Bryn Mawr Running Company, who helped run the event. So I'm hoping to have a final number for that, everything finalized by like mid-December. We should be getting all of those invoices in and making payments. And some of our volunteers who also purchase things need to have submit their reimbursement so we can make sure that that is included in that amount. So I think it was a really great event. It really, there was a lot of community members that even were like brought their families in from out of town. We had Connecticut, we had Indiana. I think Indiana was the farthest that we had people travel. And a lot of people signed up, you know, a couple of days before the race because of the weather. So we had over 150 people from Saturday to Wednesday sign up before the race. So it was a little overwhelming for Kelly and I toward the end. It's a lot of work, but we were able to successfully pull it off. So thank you to the community for supporting us and to our volunteers for helping us out. So hopefully we can make this a successful event every year. And I mean, we're bringing in enough income that, you know, hopefully we can make some of our other events that would have been fundraisers, more free community events. And I think because we brought in a lot more than we expected, one of the things, once we have all those numbers finalized, is discussing some reallocation of some funds, including to help the library, maybe some extra special projects that we want to do for the school, and some other, you know, the community garden, which has gotten so much amazing feedback as well. So just some things, you know, that'll probably be coming up on the PTO docket in the coming months. So if you have any suggestions for reallocations or anything, you can always send us an email and let us know.
Oh. Thanks, Steph. Emily, I'm going to turn it over to you for the WSSD big idea.
Thank you. Okay, I'm Emily Moyer. My sons are Joshua and Matthew Himmelberg at NPE. I had spoken at the last meeting, but I wanted to give a little bit more clear of a message this time. The group, anyway, I am the lead for NPE. The group is WSS. It doesn't actually have the D. It's not a district. It's not a district sponsored group. It's just like a community group of parents and community members and a few teachers. And so it really just stands for Wallingford Swarthmore Schools, big idea. And the idea stands for inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. So we have we're structured, it started just at SRS maybe like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And we have one lead now from every school. So we're looking to increase our membership. The mission of the group is to end racism, homophobia, discrimination, and hate speech in the Wallingford Swarthmore School District community. So we're just sort of, you know, trying to push for the DEI committee, push for the equity audit, you know, try and get, you know, the calendar to include all religious holidays, you know, an acknowledgement of religious holidays, you know, and then issues like that. Diversity of books is a big issue. So if you haven't heard too much more about it, you're welcome to get on our mailing list. I send out a newsletter every month. And specifically in response to the vandalism at Wes last month, we are organizing that our monthly meeting, membership meeting that we're having on Wednesday, December 8th at 7 p.m. Is going to actually be, we're going to invite people to join in a discussion of the documentary film, I Am Not Your Negro, which is based on the writings of James Baldwin. And if you heard the comments that Dr. Marseille had at the board meeting on November 22nd, he was encouraging everybody to watch this particular film. So we are offering an opportunity for anyone in the school district community to discuss it. We're not going to, it's not a screening, so you'd have to watch the film on your own. And I can put a link to a streaming that you can see for free in the chat. And then the meeting would be again, December 8th at 7 p.m. You can email wssbigidea@gmail.com and I'll make sure that you get the Zoom link for the meeting. And that is also the email if you'd like to be on the general mailing list for the group too.
Can I ask a quick question, Emily?
Yeah.
I know I can, you know, but just in case anyone else is wondering the same thing. I know COVID might impose some restrictions, but are there ever any events that the group might organize for children in the day?
Yeah, I think in the
Or
past,
amongst the schools, I shouldn't
I
say
think it's-
district, I'm sorry.
yeah, I think it's
But-
beginning to change so that we're looking for more community events for families. So that's a great question. In fact, we did, I think the last meeting I was mentioning this bonfire event that somebody had, and that wasn't necessarily our event, but we were helping to share the event. And then my family went to this shade tree planting event that they had in South Media at the Martha Burton Community Park. And that, was open to anybody. So once you're on the mailing list, we're looking for more ideas of family events. A few of us helped at the turkey trot just to, kind of show our support. But if you're talking about like a social event for families, that's definitely something that we would be interested in doing.
That would be nice. I'm speaking more of like, so, like you were saying, diversification of materials in schools and things like that are amazing. I guess I'm saying events where maybe some of these issues might come up and there's a chance to talk about them amongst the community, but also with children present. I guess that's kind of what I'm asking.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And we were talking about like movie nights and I guess, some things that could work into. I guess coming up with a good plan for that would be important.
Great. We can talk offline too. I just didn't know if anything had happened.
Yeah.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I just didn't know if anything had happened in the past.
Yeah.
I know the other day I was speaking with someone, it might've been Michelle, and we were talking about how in the past different families have organized like park cleanup days on MLK Day and things like that. But there's nothing that we necessarily do as like a school community together. So I didn't know if there were just different things that maybe you guys had done in the past, but if not, I would love to talk about that, offline or in one of the meetings.
I would too. And I definitely think that those things are going to be working on, and I'll make sure that, I'll check in with you about that.
Great. Okay.
Thanks. Okay. So the link is in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Emily, if you have anything, I know we've been putting things on our website. If you ever have anything, you can just set it to the this NPE dot Jess, what's your email?
It's NPE dot
secretary.
So wait, NPE, whatever.
It's npe.pto.secretary@gmail.com.
I was
Yep, sure.
I was debating whether or not there was the period in between NPE and PTO.
Yeah.
I've heard that it doesn't matter with Gmail. It ignores periods. So
that's on the website too, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But yeah, we definitely want to make sure that if there's any information coming from this group that we include it in our information just so it gets out there.
So what my understanding is that Dr. Marseille has to approve anything that goes out in an e-blast. We asked him about this particular event and we just got his approval. In fact, it was at 6:45 p.m. today. We got an email saying, yeah, this is fine to send out. So I can forward that all to Jess.
Yeah. And we have our Facebook page too that a lot of people are following. So that's something you can always, just send to Jess and we can put right onto the Facebook page.
Awesome. Thanks.
No problem. Does anybody have anything else for Emily before we move on? Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Mike. He's gonna talk about recommendation for spending down the Williamsburg account.
Great.
So we have two different accounts, just so people we have a PTO account and we had a Williamsburg account, and then Mike's gonna talk about what to do with the Williamsburg account.
Yeah, so I do want to start that these are some ideas. We're gonna present, ask questions, answer questions that everybody has today, and then we're not going to vote on it, so that if people aren't on this call, they can have a chance to take a look at these slides, offer additional recommendations, and we'll vote on January. So the balance of the 5th grade field trip Williamsburg fund right now sits above a little bit above $20,000. As I understand this, and somebody else could correct me and give me different information, but grades 2 through 5 have contributed into this balance through all school fundraisers since kindergarten. And so the current 1st grade and kindergarten classes have not contributed to the balance, as no fundraisers were held last year or this year that went towards the Williamsburg Fund. With Williamsburg not being held this year, we are looking at considering like what our plans are to spend down this balance that benefits the classes that have contributed into the fund. And it's not taking any presumptions of what the future Williamsburg trip is, but just kind of thinking through what do we do with this fundraising that we have here. I won't be able to see if anybody does need to talk, so do raise your hand, and Kelly or Jess, if you kind of interrupt me and flag me down. So our first recommendation is to take a look at the like contributing shares and create a field trip scholarship fund. And so on the chart, you'll see, kind of assuming that going to last year's 5th grade class, who's now in 6th grade, that from kindergarten through their present grade, they have like 7 shares, because it was 7 years that they contributed to this fundraising: 5th, 6th, 4th, 5, 3rd, 4th, 2nd, 3 shares, with a total of 25 shares. And then breaking that down as a percentage, that 7 over 25 would be 28. And therefore the 6th grade class would be $5,698 and change, and so on and so forth. What we would like to do with that 6th grade portion is to create a field trip scholarship fund for any student on free and reduced lunch for that NPE class of 2020 share. And so that near $6,000 would be set aside for any student, once we do start doing field trips again, which hopefully will be sooner than later, has an opportunity that there isn't a burden for the family. There isn't, it's almost just going to be like an automatic offering for those families to make sure that all students are able to enjoy and participate in the additional learning experience. So each class would have this funding earmarked for their 5th grade field trip, save that $6,000 from that 6th grade class. And our future subsequent PTO budgets will have to supplement that to quote unquote make it whole, whatever it is that we kind of determine. And to some extent, this is for future PTOs to determine, just trying to figure out a way to like kind of land this plane and distribute the funds that exist here. And that 6th grade share of that near $5,698 would be used until it was depleted for the field trip fees for all students in any grade, up until unless future PTOs were helping to supplement it. So I do want to pause here and see if anybody does have any questions.
I
Sorry,
see
I'm
no
trying to raise my
hand.
hand. Hi, Kelly.
Yes.
It's Stephanie.
Hi, how you doing?
welcome.
Yeah, if anybody
Good.
has a question, just bring it up, because I can't see
Okay,
any hands.
So I guess I just have a couple questions, simple ones. In the past, I would imagine that we did carry some kind of balance in this account that, you know, at the end of, say, the Williamsburg trip in 2018, we hadn't necessarily depleted this account. So when we're thinking about distributing the funds to the different classes, I wonder if we want to consider keeping somewhat of a balance in there. And I know you have a balance in other PTO accounts, so I'm not sure if that's something you want to consider or not. For the slide that's on the screen, I like that you're recognizing that the 6th graders never got to take their trip and that they've contributed significantly to the money in the account. Their shares, though, they would still only contribute for 6 years because they weren't contributing beyond the 5 years plus kindergarten. So I think that would still be 6 shares. And then I guess the question is, I think that's it right now, because I'm on the 5th, like chairing the 5th grade field trip committee. So we're still trying to figure out where we're going. We're making progress.
Right, and we have another recommendation too. So we'll kind of consider that as another thing. But yes, I think we could certainly change that 6th grade share to 6 shares. That makes sense, since like that's actually what they would have contributed towards it.
Yeah.
And speaking to depletion, it's Stephanie Schramm. I looking through the some of the information that I do have I don't have much on Williamsburg, but since they did only contribute about $10,000 every year, it would have had some carryover, but not a significant amount, because every year they would have to raise at least that $10,000 to be able to do it. And I think part of this was just the simplicity of not having that secondary account. So if we could get that down low enough that we can then bring that into our regular account and still have a 5th grade line item, maybe with a carryover, just because, and I'm still finding this now, actually the balance is $20,353 or $50 because there was a $3 fee, because in prior years they've accidentally used the debit card to make other purchases. It's a recurring fund that we now have gotten money back on, but the bank fee still charges for that. So it gets very messy. And so I know that, like, we all in the beginning of the year were saying it would be so much more convenient and easier to have it separated in accounts wise. But that's not going to happen in my term. It's not going to happen in, probably even the next term. But just looking forward, having, some leftover, that's fine, and carryover, but maybe not in a whole separate account for $2,000 or $3,000, so that the next group can fundraise whatever they need to do. We can still have it under the PTO, but just maybe allocate the funds just a separate way in QuickBooks. Now that we have QuickBooks, it's very easy to allocate funds.
Yeah, and I think this also is perhaps kind of the underlying thought here around divorcing expenses and revenue a little bit, and just kind of acknowledging that the 5th grade class will have a set budget item, that turkey trot camp fair, the direct donations is all going to just be part of our budget and fundraising towards that. And then that would be that year's committee would get to have that. So it's, I think, Stephanie, your question gets a little bit to like kind of a, like, how do we kind of frame our budgets in years out? And part of this is to kind of figure out how do we kind of spend down this account while kind of borrowing into, or like kind of just having that be an operating expense in future years. I'm going to advance.
Just real quick, it's just my understanding that that it was separated to solve a problem years and years and years ago, right? That they had separated the bank accounts because parents were upset over the fundraising for 5th, that so much of the effort of fundraising was going to 5th grade for the Williamsburg trip when their children weren't going to Williamsburg that year, right? So it was to solve that problem for a particular set of parents who didn't like the idea that fundraising didn't directly benefit their children. And so we're trying to move away from that mindset of my kid first and instead the community.
Thanks, Jess, for that historical background, which is helpful. And I think, like, particularly with these big community fundraising events like Turkey Trot and Camp Fair that aren't necessarily on the backs of NPE families directly, I think makes a big difference too. So our second recommendation is to kind of extend what Stephanie said about in the past. It's been that the PTO that contributed about $10,000 or 20% of the Williamsburg expenses that we're kind of estimating at 50% or 50K. So this recommendation would say each class would receive 20% of the year's total expenses to apply against the costs for the 5th grade field trip. So if the class 2022's total costs were $20,000, the PTA would contribute $4,000 to offset the cost, and the remaining balance would be paid by the families or through fundraisers specifically for that. We would run this until the funds are depleted. And the question I don't have, would like look for feedback, particularly if we do this, is like, do we max this out so that you don't have one class that runs $100,000 trip? And I know that wouldn't really happen, but like depletes the funds all in 1 year and doesn't go through. But I think this just kind of extends the thought around, like, as a percentage, this has been what the PTO has typically contributed. So we'll continue to do that regardless of what the expenses of the trip are, assuming that it would be less than 50, since it won't be all the way down in Williamsburg. Any questions on this? And Stephanie, I will put you on the spot since you are the 5th grade chair for this. kind of get your thoughts or reactions or questions on this one.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I think my questions in this recommendation actually come from having two kids who went on the Williamsburg trip. And my understanding is that, and I could be completely wrong because my husband went and wrote the check. My understanding is that the PTO contributed funds to the students who wanted to go, but financially had a hard time contributing the costs. I didn't think, and again, this is where I could be wrong, that the PTO supplemented the cost of the trip for every family. Do you know the answer to that? Because if
Yeah,
that's the
Mr.
case,
Heinley would.
Sure.
Mr.
So-
Heinley would.
Yeah, typically it's changed a little bit over the years. There was approximately 1,000 to 1,500 for scholarships. I mean, that is only about 3 or 4 students, right? Generally, but I will be honest, yeah, so there's that money. I'll say that. The cost of the trip, the fundraising was an estimate. And I think I said that at least in our 5th grade meeting. It's an estimate because against my better judgment, we take all on chaperones. I would love to say we take 40 or 45, depending on the number of people, because then you know about what the cost is in September. So the way that we did it was we finally got, are you interested in chaperoning in September? Then we made parents give us a commitment. So the bottom line is the money that PTO was raising was all about students. The chaperones has always been $375. All of that money, the $10,000, or when I first started, I think it was 7,000 or 6,000. That number was the best estimate that we could make, PTO and me, looking at number of kids, how much, were we being quoted? And that would come back in August or September. So all the money raised, to answer your question directly, was to keep the trip at $275 per student. That number has not changed since, give or take, 2009, 2008. So Williamsburg has gone up. The coach, the buses back then, we didn't take 3 buses. NPE only had 400, well, since you and I have been together, we've been up there, but back then it was, yeah. So those costs clearly went up thousands of dollars, but we were committed to that 275. There was a point where PTO debated, is it time to raise it $10, $15? But we have not. So to answer the question, all that fundraising was the difference between 275 times 85 kids plus approximately 45 chaperones. What does that look like? What's the difference between 275 versus the actual per student cost? So I hope that answers the question. The 20,000, and I apologize for not remembering, really it's only from 2 years. And one of it was more of a miscommunication my first year. We carried about a $5,000, $6,000 balance right up for about 6 years. Like we had it that the number coming in and going out was within like $500, which is amazing when you think of, the changes that go on this trip. The large number of the 20,000, I apologize for not remembering specifically. I'm sure Mrs. Schramm, you could probably see it. It was actually, I want to say it was the Turkey Trot. I can't remember, but it was like a fundraiser was like, it's going to be there for Williamsburg. And it just took in X amount of money. And that's why that number is high. It's not that every year we've been overshooting by $1,000 or $2,000.
The camp fair were brought in like over 4,000 to 5,000. Yeah, it was camp fair.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and then there's also the fundraising from the 2019-2020 year.
Correct.
That the kids didn't go. That's in there. That was the $10,000 that we had raised that year. That didn't get spent.
Oh, that was the other. I was going to say, I was still doing the
so
math.
there's
I'm
like a
missing
balance of like a
That's
whole
it.
year that didn't actually get spent.
Yes.
Plus,
And then there was
fundraising.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
that was like camp fair from 2019. 2019
those
camp
are the
spring.
3 things. It was
Yeah.
2012 pandemic year and that one fundraiser. That's really the bulk of the money. I'm not saying we didn't go over a couple years, but that's the bulk of the money right there.
So I'm mindful of the time, and I don't want to cut off conversation. Oh, Jennifer, I see your hand up, so we're going to take the question.
Yeah, sorry, Mike, just one
No.
question on that point. So Jess, it's actually the current 7th grade class, right? Did the bulk of that fundraising, is that correct?
Yes, yes, it would
That's
be
true.
correct.
We
So
talked about it though, and the kids that year they did get a generous gift from PTO. You know, they not a Williamsburg trip, but they got sweatshirts and bags and goodies and stuff like that. It's just too much to be able to say, like, as these children have moved on past you know, past NPE pretty significantly. I personally, with the child in 7th grade, feel like it's just too much to be able to chase after to make sure that it's all equitably divided between those kids, you know. Just gonna move on, cut our losses.
Well, I think the first option kind of provides a little bit of a ramp there to share that, you know what I mean, to divide it. And it's more about like the parents that, you know, did the work. And I feel a little bit in both camps, honestly, because, you know, I have a current 6th grader, and we didn't really get to fundraise because everything kind of shut down, right? So I don't necessarily feel the same. I feel worse for the 7th graders, honestly, than the 6th graders at this point. But I just want to clarify that first option does kind of provide a little bit of benefit for the alumni classes, correct? But
Yeah,
the
and
second
maybe
option does not.
I'm going to expand on your idea there. Maybe we call it like the class of 2019, 2020 scholarship fund, to kind of call out that it was those 2 years that gave up their chance to go on this trip and are going to help fund future students to be able to go on all field trips. Does that get a little bit to your question?
Yeah,
Or
I just wanted the clarification that option 1 does kind of address that, and option 2, as it's written, kind of doesn't. And
yes,
I don't have any feelings either way. I just wanted to make it clear
Yep.
and just get clarification.
that's accurate. Other questions? Mindful of the time, I will provide these slides to Jess. We'll push them out on the website and maybe through the email. I think we can probably do that in some creative way. Please talk to people about this and share it. Like, I don't want this to be a decision in a vacuum, and we're not trying to rush anything, but we will, during the January 5th meeting, come back and hopefully make a decision and vote on which of these 2 decisions makes the most sense, so that we have a plan and can kind of answer the question that I feel like many people come to the PTO meeting every month being like, what are we doing with the Williamsburg money? So that's the plan here.
And if anybody has a better idea, we're open to any suggestions. Just email us at npeparentteacher@gmail.com and we'll get back to you. These were just 2 ideas we came up with. Again, because like we had to do something with the money. So if you have a better idea, we're completely open to it, and we would love to hear your ideas on this, because it is very important what we do with it. So thank you so much. Stephanie, really quick, is there any updates that you need to provide us for the 5th grade field trip or anything? You're still working it, right?
Well, yeah, so I just finally sent out the meeting minutes from the first meeting. I think the committee does agree that it's very difficult, if not impossible, to take an overnight trip. The difference that became very clear as we talked with Mr. Heinley was that we have to educate the students who choose not to go. The overnight trips that are occurring at the upper school levels are voluntary trips that they're doing kind of outside of school time, and the teachers are not going on them. They're music trips. So it becomes more important that we limit these trips to day trips. So we're focusing, the last meeting, we decided to focus on 3 day trips because they're typically gone in Williamsburg for 3 days. One of those trips would probably be the end of March. 2 of them would be in May. And we're trying to focus on categories that are similar to Williamsburg. So we're going to look at a historical trip, an environmental trip, because they stop down on the way down for lunch. I can't remember where it is, but more environmental related at a park. And then the third being just social, emotional, fun, team building before they go to middle school. So that's the goal right now.
Awesome.
We have some ideas, and my next task is to get some subcommittees to evaluate like which one would be the best or the easiest historical, and which will be the environmental, and which the social emotional. So
Awesome. And I did send you, I think SRS did the rope course. And if you need more information with that, I think SRS in the spring's going to some wetlands in
yeah, they
South.
go to. Yeah, they
I think-
do. And I have, so right now for our next meeting, I just sent the meeting minutes out tonight. So we really haven't even seen them yet. For the next meeting, I actually have links to multiple destinations for
Awesome.
subcommittee members to grab them, evaluate all of them. And then I don't want to like take too much time for this meeting, but at some point we then need to get the 5th grade team involved, because obviously they're the ones primarily going to take the students at this point.
And I haven't had a chance to speak with you, Steph, and I've already been in
Yeah.
touch, and they're aware of our conversation, very supportive, and yeah, so it's good.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking on this. So, and then I'll turn it over to Michelle for winter and spring events.
Hello. Yes, I'll keep this brief because I know we're getting a little late here, but I know we're kind of coming to the holidays and then the new year will be here. So just to start thinking about some dates, for our winter and spring events. I know we have the Steam Night, the Read Across America, Pizza Bingo, and then, the Spring Fest. So we can, look at this at our next meeting too, but just to start thinking about, when and how we want to proceed with those events, in person or.
And per our
virtually.
earlier conversation, Mr. Heinley, we should pick dates, write these all up, submit them, and let the pandemic team tell us if it is.
I think that's my recommendation right now. Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because if it is for the kids, which Steam Night, Read Across America would be, that could potentially change the evaluation.
Yeah, I think we overshoot and then reassess depending on how it goes. That's where I think we are.
Okay, and then
Great.
thanks, Stephanie. So Steam Night, you guys are thinking end of March. Awesome.
And just to add real quick, I expect an update. This is all 3 elementaries. There will be information about how we're approaching the winter concert. From Miss Daub and the select chorus. I don't want to give too much detail, but let's say we have the winter concert and the spring. I can say that the winter is probably going to be like a student performance in school, maybe 2, maybe split kids. We have not decided that, and videotaping it or zooming it, something of that nature. You may hear secondary, I believe, is having an in-person concert. Some of that has to do with the size of the school versus, the elementaries, but we are eyeing an in-person concert in the spring. That is our goal. So there will be information coming out about that. But that is something that we work through together, all 5 of the principals. That includes select chorus and Miss Daub's orchestra and band. So that will be out in the month of December. That information will be coming out.
Awesome.
Okay, so maybe Mike and I will reach out to the committee chairs of those events and talk about some possible dates. Does that sound good?
Feel free to send me, like I said, those
Yes.
dates approximate, and then
Okay.
4 questions, and
Perfect.
you got it. Yep.
Awesome. And I'll move it over to Julie for ideas and improvements.
Yes. Does anyone have any ideas or improvements that they would like to share? I should say suggestions, recommendations on any PTO projects or events that you have not yet spoken about this evening.
I'll just say, to kind of drill down, building on what Miss Goldman shared about the library, I would like to bring up offering. She shared with me that books typically are about $30 through Follett for new materials. So I'd like to offer some type of grant to allow her to purchase the new books while still doing. Stephanie, I thought your idea of like a donation program is great. So like, if we kind of run the donation program maybe now and offer that grant in the coming months that she can supplement based upon what she has. And then maybe part of me kind of wants to maybe table the typing thing just for a moment until we have a little bit more information. And I also kind of feel like that's personally something that the district should potentially be looking into, and not PTO. But the books, I feel like, given the absence of the book fairs, like I really think it's an important thing that we could do because we have $17,000. It's kind of like in our reserves. And as Stephanie Schramm pointed out, like Turkey Trot did awesome too. So like, I think this is something that we can help our students with.
Yeah, and there is a component, she mentioned very quickly, I don't know if you caught it, but there's a component of working with the technology department through the district, because obviously we can't just bring in all programs from everywhere. They're vetted, there's a process, but yes, yeah, agreed.
Great, anyone else?
So I would throw out like $3,000 to see if like we could get 30 or 100 books at $30.
Should we wait until to see what she wants and see? I mean, there's a possibility like what she wants. We might have them all. I think I'd rather do the donation, the used books, and then see the list and then talk to her about the difference. And then come. Yeah, I don't want to just give her the amount and then we have a lot of the books.
And also, I want to, we were talking about taking some of the Turkey Trot money, and I want to finalize some of those numbers so that we know kind of where we're at before we then.
But we don't, I'm going to say we don't need to take Turkey Trot money because that's PTO money at this point. Do you know what I mean? So I think it is a matter, like we have the 17,000 in the bank right now. And the Turkey Trot money is just like is going to go towards that balance. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know that we have to allocate specific money to it is my perspective. But Kelly, I do think like we can wait on it, but I guess I don't want to like belabor it for her if there's some things that like we can't get right away that would help the students.
Yeah. And I think Heinley's supposed to be sending out something for the rugs for the school and then possible playground equipment. So there are other things in the works, right?
Yeah, we got the bike rack, which I already have the information on the office. Playground equipment is a little bit harder just because you have to work with operations engineer because of our safety, because of our school, certain things. Plus playground equipment.
I thought you meant the big games.
I was just going to say, let me clarify.
The bar games that we're not going to do it at a bar.
Yeah, if you ever see like the life-size checkers, those kind of things, those are things I'm looking at. Yeah.
That you have at all the adult establishments.
I'll be honest. You only need at this rate 3 or 4 Turkey Trots, and we're getting a whole new big toy out there at this rate. The way you guys are going.
One of the suggestions that I was going to bring up was one of the things we definitely noticed that we needed at the Turkey Trot was an outdoor microphone system. So, and I know that we've brought that up for other PTO meetings and things like that. And we were told that it's kind of an indoor system. So maybe bringing that up so that we can use it for field day, we can use it for PTO meetings, you can use it for a whole bunch of different pizza bingo, you can use it for a whole host of different options. So that's just another expenditure that we can look at.
I'll tell you what, since our last PTO meeting when it came up,
you bought one.
Yeah, my husband bought one. Would love to get it out of the garage and sell it to PTO.
Yeah.
I think that's Kyle a deal. On that one.
He did.
Yeah. Maybe when she get those lists, but I think we give maybe she comes back with a list and we just post it, and then we definitely give her some money. And I think the typing thing that somebody mentioned, I do agree with you. I don't think that's a PTO function. I think that should be a school district function because Dr. Marseille really wants the consistency among the class or the different schools. But I think we definitely, she definitely gets a grant because I think 3 fairs, not having them, that definitely hurts.
Yeah, I'll speak with her about putting together maybe a wish list. Like she had mentioned the diversity titles, I can have her do that. I can always bring it back to you guys, or she can bring it back to you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Great. So we can maybe vote on, I heard 4 ideas here. Maybe we can like actually put that on the agenda for January to work through and vote on.
Heinley has to provide us with quotes and amounts before we can vote on them. So I was just waiting on that.
You'll have them. You'll have them
Awesome.
for January.
But yeah, then definitely put it on the agenda. And then we'll go to community announcements with Sarah.
All right, it's very short this month. Parkside Nutcracker, from what I understand, there's quite a bit of NPE students in these performances. There's one on Friday at 7, and there's 2 on Saturday, one at 1 o'clock and one at 7. Also on Friday is the Haven football semifinals. It's at Ridley High School. Apparently it's the furthest they've made it since 2012, someone told me at the last game. You do have to get your tickets for that online though. There's like a website that's floating around all over Facebook right now. And then the only other thing I have is the Garden City Christmas Float is coming the 11th and 12th. So I don't believe the schedule is out yet, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty much the same every year. So if you've been in the community for a while, you've seen it. But if anybody else has anything else, now would be the time.
And Sarah, I'll just like to add, you can purchase your Nutcracker tickets at the door.
Oh, good. Okay, that's what
Yes, you
we
don't
are.
have
We
to have
have
them in
decided
advance.
to not freeze our heinies off again to go to the football game. We went.
Well, you
last
could do
week.
Friday night football game,
So we're gonna
Saturday
do-
night Nutcracker, or a
No, we can't
matinee.
do Saturday night. We have something going on. So
I'm
we're
just saying
coming to a Friday
anyone,
night
not just your
Nutcracker.
family, Sarah. I mean anyone. And it's at the Christian school right behind the Chick-fil-A in Brookhaven. So it's
Julie,
very
can you
local.
send me like a Facebook event or something? Did they do a Facebook thing? Whatever, so I can
I
see
can't
Probably,
it?
but
find a
I can
Facebook
send you a
event.
screenshot of the flyer
Okay.
that has
Yeah.
all the I'm
Okay.
yelling.
I was gonna say, I think there's a lot of NPE. From what I can tell, the majority of the NPE dancers, I guess is the right wording, go to Parkside, from what I understand. And there's quite a lot of our children in it, which is kind of cool.
And it's
So,
cute and it's cheap.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And some parents teach there too, actually. So
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, that is
they do.
true.
Oh
Very
yeah,
true. Yeah.
Kyla.
Yep, she's
Yeah, and Sarah,
Seraphina's
too.
teacher.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely from what we've seen, my 2 started dancing this year and they're very happy there. So we'll be continuing.
Excellent.
So, yep. So that's all I have community wise for the next month. It's very quiet, I think. We also have a large holiday break, which will be lovely. But
All right, Michelle.
So I guess I just say motion to adjourn, right?
Second.
That was easy.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you
Have
for
a good
joining
night,
us. Have a good
everyone.
night,
Bye,
guys.
thank you.
Have a great night.
See you.